All right, hello everybody. My name is Ryan Graebner, here to talk to you about some varieties for intermediate rainfall growing regions in Oregon. So this is focused on areas that are 13-inch rainfall up until 20-inch rainfall. So in Oregon, that's really from the Pendleton to the Walla Walla area that we're focusing on most. We weren't able to get enough people for the in-person session, so this was all recorded and I'll just post it right onto YouTube. All right, getting right into some varieties. First is bobtail. This is an OSU release. It's been around for a while. This one's got an outstanding disease package, good quality. This one's really been a top yielder in a lot of parts of the state, but especially that Pendleton to Walla Walla area, where it's one of our top varieties. Downsides of bobtail, and probably the reason it hasn't gotten more acreage, is its test weight. It's typically one of the lowest in the trial. And if you're growing bobtail, you should really expect to have at least a small deduction for test weight at the elevator. All right, up next is Roslyn. This came out about the same time as bobtail. Roslyn is a little bit more of a balanced variety, still low test weight. This one does very well really across the state, where it's emerged as one of the favorite varieties in the Willamette Valley. A lot of people in even 10, 12-inch rainfall areas like Roslyn. Again, like bobtail, this one's emerged as one of the top yielders from Pendleton to Walla Walla. It's a nice all-around variety. It's got good straw breaker foot rot, and it's got a nice disease package, although this will get stripe rust in a bad year. It seems to be hit a little bit more in the Willamette Valley, so hopefully that's not a trend that shifts east. But low test weight again. Up next, this is a newer OSU variety, or an OSU Lima grain collaboration. Norwest Duet, this one's the tallest variety in the trial. This one's done really well in our Pendleton location, and then it's done well in variety trials in a lot of areas in southern Washington. Statewide, I don't know if this can quite keep up with some of the other high-yielding varieties, but it is a fairly well-rounded variety. One of the big weaknesses with Norwest Duet is its strawbreaker foot rot. This one typically is, at least when you judge strawbreaker foot rot severity by how much it lodges in an area with high disease pressure, Norwest Duet tends to be one of the worst in the trial. All right, Norwest Tandem. This is a nice early maturing variety, very well balanced. This one's really performed well in a lot of the low rainfall parts of the state. If you're looking at the Pendleton to Walla Walla area, Pendleton performs fairly well. When you get up to Walla Walla, it's still not a bad variety, but I don't know if it's going to be top of the deck anymore. This one's got a great stripe rust package, and fairly well or good overall disease. Not a whole lot of weaknesses that I've been able to pick up for Norwest Tandem yet. And then finally, the new variety, or OSU variety, Nixon. This one does not have seed available yet. Looking at Nixon, this fits also, like Norwest Tandem, into the well-rounded category. However, yield-wise, I really haven't seen it at the very top of any of the reports for the Pendleton Walla Walla area. So definitely, it's a nice variety. It has a good disease package, good quality. I don't know if it's going to be a top yielding variety for this area. Moving on to some Lima grain lines, LCS Art Deco has a nice history in Walla Walla, and for good reason. Yield potential on this is really outstanding. I believe some national yield contests have been won with Art Deco. Downsides of Art Deco is it has some winter tenderness, and then also the disease package is not great. Whether it's stripe rust, strawbreaker foot rot, fusarium, this one tends to be a little bit below average looking at the entire trial. So great disease, or great yield potential, but if you're growing Art Deco, you need to be ready to manage some of those disease issues that might pop up. All right, LCS Drive. This is very similar to Norwest Tandem. Early maturing, it's short, good disease package, really no big weaknesses that I've been able to pick up. It's really performed best in the low rainfall area. And again, it's performed fairly well in Pendleton. By the time you get up to Walla Walla, it's not really the top of the reports anymore. And I do think that there's some other varieties out there that could probably outperform LCS Drive. But a very nice area, or variety for some of the drier areas. Up next, LCS Sharks. This is a Lima grain variety. This is actually an Art Deco cross. It's got improved disease package over Art Deco. And then the other, while keeping the nice yield potential, the factor that Shark really has that makes it nice for the Walla Walla area is it is resistant to soil-borne wheat mosaic virus. So if that's a pathogen that you're working with, then LCS Shark really is one of the top varieties you can be growing. LCS Shine. This is one of my favorite varieties, especially for low rainfall areas. This is a bobtail by Beyond Core cross. It's done very well yield potential wise, especially among that 12-inch and below rainfall zone in a lot of the state. Seems to have a fairly nice disease package, except for it does suffer from strawbreaker foot rot. If you get to Pendleton, it's still a good variety, still probably one of those top choices. But again, once you move towards Walla Walla, I'm not sure if this is absolutely the top variety you can be growing, but it's still a very nice one. Definitely for some circumstances, it could be a good option. All right, LCS Blackjack. This one might be the variety that I'm most interested for the Walla Walla area. It is a Roslyn by Bobtail cross. It seems to capture much of the good disease package from both of those parents. It's got outstanding strawbreaker foot rot resistance and seems to have a yield boost over either Roslyn or Bobtail. Downside with LCS Blackjack is Bobtail's got low test weight, Roslyn's got low test weight, Blackjack's also got similarly low test weight. So that is the one drawback that you would want to expect if you're growing Blackjack. Blackjack does have some certified seed availability this year, but it's fairly limited, and I expect next year is where we'll really start to see a little bit more acreage. All right, moving on to some Syngenta lines. SY Assure, this one's at this point the second most grown variety in Oregon. It's done at about, I think, roughly 12% of acreage. It's done really well in the Morrow County area, a lot of those dry parts of the state, very similar to Tandem and LCS Drive, where not a whole lot of weaknesses. The one big weakness I've been able to pick up, or we've been able to pick up with SY Assure, it does seem to be hit hard by sea stripe a little bit more than some of the other varieties in the trial. Like those other, or the Tandem and the Drive, very good yield potential in the low rainfall parts of the state. Moving up to Pendleton, that seems to be roughly the edge of its range. And then once you get all the way to Walla Walla, my guess is there's some better varieties to be growing at this point. SY Dayton, this one's done very well in our Walla Walla trial, and also the Grand, but hasn't performed really top of the stack with many other places. This one has improved stripe rust resistance over SY Ovation, and this one does have soil-borne wheat mosaic virus resistance. So probably if that's a pathogen you're working with, then SY Dayton right up there with SY Shark are going to be top varieties to consider. SY Command, another Syngenta line, hasn't performed great in our variety trials, although hasn't done too poorly either. Where Syngenta really touts this is they say it has good emergence. We don't have a deep furrow trial or any trial that's naturally going to challenge varieties in terms of emergence, so we can't independently verify that. But if you are planting deep or you're planting in late August, SY Command could be one to keep on your radar. All right, and then finally we have M-Press. To be honest, I'm not as familiar with this variety yet. In the Oregon trials, it's done decent, but not outstanding, except for in Hermiston where it's performed very well. But it's had a very nice showing in the Walla Walla trials. Similarly to SY Command, this is a McGregor exclusive, and they do market this as having good emergence, something that's nice to plant early in the season. We don't, again, have any early planted trials, so we're not able to verify that. But I haven't been able to find anything that is, overall, M-Press seems like it's another well-rounded variety and fits very nicely into that Walla Walla area. All right, moving on to some 2-gene Clearfield. So Magic is the first one, and the reason for that is at this point, Magic's really the one to beat. Statewide, Magic, I believe, has close to 60–70% of the acreage. If you get up to the Walla Walla area, my guess is that's going to be, in terms of the clear fields, you're also going to be seeing a little bit of Castle, maybe a couple other varieties. Agronomically, it's an extremely good variety. It seems really resilient, able to perform well in a lot of locations. The big downside of it we've seen, especially this year, is its stripe rust package, where it was hit especially hard compared to a lot of the other varieties. So looking at replacements to Magic in terms of 2-gene clear fields, I think we're going to be looking for something that has equal to better yield potential, and then also a better stripe rust package behind it. In terms of varieties to replace Magic, or if you're looking to move away from Magic in the Pendleton Walla Walla area, Stingray really seems like one of the top picks. This is a WSU variety. Some certified seed I know is available this fall. It's got a great stripe rust package. Looking at Chris Munt's data from the pathology program based on in Corvallis, we haven't seen a whole lot of weaknesses in terms of soil-borne diseases. It doesn't have soil-borne disease or soil-borne wheat mosaic virus as far as we're aware. But even in our low yielding, almost in every location in the state, this one's performed nearly the best of the 2-gene clear fields. So I think that this will be a very nice variety, especially in the Pendleton and Walla Walla trials. It's performed very well compared to where Magic's been. All right, up next is Appleby CL Plus. This is a very early maturing variety for the 2-gene clear fields. It's got a nice stripe rust package, but it's not perfect. Really where this seems to hit its peak is those low rainfall areas, say under 12-inch rainfall, and especially if you get below 3 inches of soil, 3 feet of soil that you're growing wheat on. When you get to Pendleton, especially Walla Walla, I don't know if it's going to be a top choice, but there might be some circumstances where it would be interesting. All right, OR2X2CL Plus, and I should say with Appleby, there was registered seed production last year, so it'll probably be 1 year before we start to see some certified seed. OR2X2CL Plus is a year behind that, so there's foundation seed available, and if all goes well, we'd expect to see some certified seed 2 years from now. So the story behind the name, the 2X2 2 genes for beyond resistance, the herbicide that makes it a clear field, and then 2 genes for strawberry foot rot resistance. So right up there with LCS blackjack that I mentioned earlier, this one is among the most resistant to strawberry foot rot in our trial. It's got a nice disease package. Yield-wise, it's done fairly well in Pendleton and Walla Walla, kind of holding equal to where Magic's at, maybe a little bit above. It struggled in some of the other locations, but especially if you're dealing with that strawberry foot rot strawberry foot rot, and you're looking for a 2-gene clear field other than Magic, OR2X2 could be a good option in this intermediate rainfall zone. And then unfortunately don't have a picture for this, but just want to throw up the name. We've had it in the trial for 2 years. It's a University of Idaho Lima grain collaboration. So that's the same collaboration that brought us UI Magic. Yield-wise, this seems fairly good in a lot of locations around the state, but especially this intermediate rainfall area. And it seems like it has nice test weight, so I'm looking forward to learning more about it. Moving on to some hard reds. So here LCS Jet is the one to beat. Jet along with Brawl, which is grown in the Morrow County area, I believe are the top 2 grown hard red winter wheats in Oregon. And for Jet, that's for a great reason. It has incredible yield potential. Really, in most of our locations, Jet is near the top of the variety trial reports. Exception to this is this year it did get hit pretty hard by stripe rust. Our Pendleton trial was not sprayed this year because most of the varieties were able to handle it very well. But LCS Jet did get hit pretty hard. That being said, if you're able to deal with the stripe rust, LCS Jet's going to be a very nice variety, and for now, the one to beat for this area. All right, up next are 2. These are OSU varieties, Urban Millie. They are hard white winters. Seems like a nice disease package. Seems like they've got good quality, they're not going to beat LCS Jet in terms of yield potential. So really where you're going to want these is if you're trying to get experience in hard white winters, or if you're trying to build a market. Next, in hard red experimental. This has been in the trial for 2 years. Don't know too much about it yet, but I think that it has a better disease package so far, and yield, in terms of its yield and protein, has done fairly well in the Pendleton and Walla Walla trials. So definitely a variety to keep an eye on as it goes forward. Moving on to some Lima grain lines, LCS Imeric. This is a soil-borne wheat mosaic virus-resistant hard red. And I believe it's the only one in the trial, at least of the released varieties. It's got a good stripe rust package, great yield potential. Really, its weakness is its protein, where even considering its high yield, it routinely yields lower protein than most other varieties in the trial. LCS Avena, this one hasn't ever yielded at the top of a trial. Tends to be kind of average to a little bit above in these intermediate high rainfall growing areas, or rainfall areas and irrigated areas too. However, this has a lot of nice attributes behind it. It's got a great disease package, good stripe rust, and looking across all the other varieties or diseases that Chris screens, this one performs at least better than the trial average. Other thing that LCS Avena has is very nice protein, where this gives us, this is one of the highest protein wheats in the trial routinely, which is pretty surprising considering it does have not the best yield, but definitely one of the higher yields in the trial. Lima Grain really touts this as a variety that can be good both for hay, and then also a variety that can perform well in organic systems. And definitely, if you're looking for a good disease package and good protein, LCS Avena is one to keep an eye on. All right, LCS Rocket. This one's a really nice one. Lima Grain touts it as a high rainfall and irrigated complement to Jet. Really, it's been able to match Jet's performance in a lot of different conditions. And it's got improved disease package over Jet. And in terms of yield potential, this is really at the top and seems like it'll be a very nice option for hard red winter wheat growers in the area. All right, with that, I'd like to extend thanks. Farmer cooperators, we could not do these trials without the great farmers that we're working with that allow us to have trials all over the region. Serial Extension Program crew, Matthew Hunt and Daisy Runemecken are our 2 permanent employees. And if you're around the variety trials, you might see them working on our plots. And then we've got a great crew of summer students this year. Also, I'd like to thank the Oregon Wheat Commission for funding this work. And then the WSU Variety Testing Program, which we collaborate with for the Walla Walla site. And for the Walla Walla site in particular, they do most of the maintenance steps. So big thanks to all of them.